What's up guys, megarogoji here, and we're back again. Godzilla has gone through many different design changes, whether it's suits, CGI, cartoons, you name it. Many of which are great, but many of which were terrible. And today we're going to talk about the worst Godzilla designs we have seen on screen and beyond. And there's some sad moments here.
There are many Godzilla designs that are pretty ugly, most of which were from the Showa era.
So we have a select few in specific that are probably the worst, and most people will agree with us, and let's just get started. And these are in no particular order at all, by the way. So the first one we're going to talk about, we're going to just get this one right out of the way. Everyone agrees with us. Godzilla 1998, also known as Zilla.
First off, it's not even a suit, it's literally just a CGI T-Rex.
On top of that, he's much smaller than the rest of the Godzillas, and while that doesn't quite matter, it's kind of funny because the promo advertised him that he's the biggest Godzilla we've ever seen. On top of the whole T-Rex design, there's also a mix of iguana in there somewhere. He's just a generic monster. You could mistake him for any other dinosaur out there, but overall that T-Rex iguana hybrid is pretty ugly and is not Godzilla and shouldn't represent what Godzilla is at all.
There isn't much to say on why his design is so terrible, honestly. It's pretty obvious.
Next on the list, we got Godzilla 1955 from Godzilla Raids Again. This suit is known as the Shin Goji. First off, this suit doesn't look too bad from certain angles, and it does a pretty good job of recapturing the design of the original one, but from certain angles, the suit looks cheaply made and very ugly and puppet-like.
From the front view, he looks like an alligator.
His face is so flat, he almost looks like he has no cheeks, and he almost looks like he's smiling because his mouth stretches so far back. And while it's obvious they couldn't use the original Godzilla suit because this isn't the same Godzilla, it's a disappointment that the suit looks so much worse. Like I said, from certain angles, it looks alright, but from the front especially, it looks terrible. Next on the list, we got the first three forms from Shin Godzilla.
First off, he looks like something belongs in Dinosaur Office.
We're not exactly trying to roast these designs. For a 2016 Godzilla, it's kind of pathetic to see this. I understand Godzilla's supposed to be zombified and developing with his no arms and all that, but he looks very blob-like. His eyes are so wide and blank, they look like googly eyes. The overall designs of these first three forms resemble a kindergartner's drawing of a T-Rex. Like I said, I understand it's supposed to be a zombified Godzilla, he's still growing and all that, but for a 2016 film that is enhanced heavily on CGI, it's pretty pathetic to see these three forms have such terrible designs and be present for so much of the film's duration.
On to the next one.
Next we have Godzilla 1962, also known as the King Goji suit. It was used in the film King Kong vs. Godzilla, and is the first time we've seen Godzilla in color. For a movie so highly anticipated as it was back then, it's a shame to see our first Godzilla in color to have such a terrible design.
From the side view, he looks half decent, but at the front, he looks like he ate 1,000 cheeseburgers just about.
His thighs are so fat and wide that it's kind of comical seeing him walk around.
You think this is a game? You think this is a joke?
It's almost like these thighs heavily decrease his mobility. The body design is pretty basic overall, but the head design is really flat on top and has very large cheeks on the side. So from the side view you can't really tell, but from the front it really sticks out.
He's got a peanut head. His fingernails look like bugles, you know when you put them on the end of your fingers?
Pretty sad that this is the first color version of Godzilla we've ever gotten on screen.
You messed up.
So I don't know how to pronounce this next suit name, so I'm just gonna...
Good luck with that.
This suit was first used in Destroy All Monsters in 1968 and was used all the way until Godzilla vs. Gigan in 1972. First off, I will say I love this suit. It's one of my all-time favorite Godzilla designs.
But after 4 movies, it's looking pretty rough.
By Godzilla vs. Gigan, the suit's falling apart on screen. You really see Godzilla's skins and scales just dangling off his arms. The areas around his eyes almost look like clay. It's just so bad. And don't even get me started on the water scenes of this movie. The head design they used for those scenes looks absolutely awful. Heavily resembles the 1967 suit. His eyes especially are starting to look pretty rough in this one.
He's just not looking good.
But after 4 years of using the same Godzilla suit, you think it's time for a new suit, which brings us into our next one. So, in 1973, Godzilla vs. Megalon was released, and in that film, the megarogoji suit was first featured. One of my all-time personal favorites. It was also used in 1974's Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla.
But if you have 2 Godzillas, you're probably going to need 2 suits.
So to compromise for this, the scenes where fake Godzilla and the real Godzilla were on screen together.
They used a suit with a drastically different head sculpt.
This head sculpt was similar to the regular megarogoji suit, but instead featured a much puffier face, especially on the mouth area. The body of the suit was changed too, obviously, featuring a much chubbier and relaxed suit. The suit was also featured in 1975's Terror of Mechagodzilla at the end, where the real Godzilla, for some reason, switched to that suit during the scene when he walked away in the water at the very end. I couldn't find any reason that they had to switch suits, maybe other than water damage to the suit, but other than that, I don't know why they switched the suit.
Finally, we have the Musuko Goji suit. It is the ugliest, stupidest suit of them all.
While this list was in no particular order, I can probably say this suit is by far the worst design Godzilla's ever had on screen.
This suit was featured in 1967's Son of Godzilla.
And gladly, it was the only time we saw this suit, other than 1969's Godzilla's Revenge, but that was just stock footage. The 1968 through 72 suit appears to be an evolution of this suit, a much needed improvement. Godzilla has never looked worse. The suit overall looks poorly made, with it being very baggy and chubby, and hand designs look kind of like gloves. The overall head sculpt is the worst part of this design. Godzilla's eyes are heavily pushed up, resembling that of a frog's.
Which is why we refer to this as Frog Eye Godzilla or Frogzilla.
Fits him very well. You cannot possibly take this suit seriously for a monster. It's extremely comical and really ridiculous. I am really glad this film was mostly directed towards kids. But for a full-length Godzilla film, it's really hard to watch for any Godzilla fan. Perhaps their budget was pretty low, but that doesn't excuse them for making such an ugly Godzilla suit.
Especially since we've seen better Godzillas in previous years.
That was about it for this list. There are some worse Godzilla designs, but those are mostly for stunts and shots that were very brief throughout all films, mostly the Showa era. But at the end of the day, we just gotta remember that these Godzilla designs do make these movies fun to watch. Well, except for the 67 suit, that was pretty bad. But these suits do add to the cheese factor that make these old films so good and fun to watch. It's what makes these movies those cheesy giant monster battle flicks. Please let me know what you think of this and what you think your least favorite Godzilla design is. Thank you so much for watching.
Farewell. See you in 3 years.
Megaro.
You can't say that.
Huh?